So, a different topic. Yeah.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, John. It sounded a little different tonight. I don't know why.
I mean, you got to do you.
Hey,
You got to follow your bliss.
We don't promise
Quality.
We're trying
Or
to
even a
promise
show,
quality.
really.
We don't promise consistency. Apparently, definitely not in our
that's true. I'll get
schedule right
behind
now.
Yeah, I can get behind that for sure. And we have consistently done a show every week since we started, which I'm pretty impressed about. Because really, this is, other than my marriage, this is the longest thing I've ever stuck with at this point.
Hey, this is all we promised, was that we'd have a show out every week. And so far, I'm really impressed that we have had something out every week, even though one week it was like a half show, but we still put something out there.
Yeah, it's fine.
But this week, it was for what I consider a really good reason, a really good cause. We finally got another project started off the ground. It was almost a month late, but we are going on another project, and I'm really excited for Remedy Arcade. So, and
yeah, me too, man. I just super excited about it. And we had just a stupid amount of fun putting that together. And I only have the first episode of that edited, but we got 8 episodes out of that session.
Yeah, I can't wait to actually see that live and see what the finished product looks like. I think that that is going to be we may give Game Grumps a run for their money. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
well, I don't necessarily want to be in it's weird because people describe the Let's Play genre on these video platforms as being very cutthroat and competitive, but I don't want to be competitive.
No,
I don't want to compete with them. I want to join them.
If I could do a collab with them, yeah,
yeah, but not even just collab. I just want to be in the same space. I've been following Game Grumps specifically. I've been following them for 5.5, probably 6 years now. I mean, they were really young when I started.
I've been following them for at least 5 hours now.
Oh, well, welcome to the party, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I've been following them for years, and I've watched them grow, and I've watched their channel grow. And I feel, even though they have absolutely no idea who I am, I feel like I know them. I follow the two main guys, Dan and Aaron, on their relevant social medias. And if I had the opportunity to go to any of their live events, they don't come anywhere near where I live. So I couldn't, I'd have to travel a bit to go to a live event, but I would definitely consider it. These people are a big part of my life, whether they're aware of it or not.
That's actually a very interesting topic that I saw a news story on from Philo DeFranco not too long ago. And it's not really a topic that we have queued up, and I'm not going to try and spend too much time on it, but the fact that you feel like you know them so well and that they're a part of your life, but now you realize that they don't know you and you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Some people don't make that connection. There's there's been a lot of instances, especially with YouTubers, where fans will find the people's residence, their home address, commonly called doxing, and they'll go and knock on their doors and expect them to come into their house and show them around and be friendly to them, when it's this stranger knocking on their door. And it can be very scary for famous creators. And I use the word
definitely.
Famous not lightly. A lot of YouTube creators now truly have celebrity and famous status.
Well, 100%. And I think that problem, I'm not the kind of person that would go knocking on, Markiplier's door.
Right.
That's insane. But I think I kind of get it, because a lot of these people put their channels together in a way that's very personal.
Yeah.
And they let you in on a lot of stuff that's personal to them. They introduce you to their family. They show you around their houses. I mean, it's voyeuristic in a way. And so you get so much information about their lives that you kind of start to feel like they're your personal portal into whatever it is that, you know, their content is about. And, you know, as a fairly mentally healthy individual, I don't find myself feeling like Jacksepticeye or Good Mythical Morning are talking to me, you know, like I don't get that feeling, but
I'm just glad that we live up in North Dakota where there's not a whole lot of other people, and it's unlikely that people are going to find us.
I mean, and plus, I mean, everyone should move to North Dakota. It is absolutely beautiful up here, especially this time of year. You don't really know what you're missing.
I don't know. It gets kind of cold for me, but you know, there is a definitive majesty in it though too. I can't deny that
majesty. Yeah, I'll get behind the majesty of it. Yeah.
Well, sure. I mean, words start to fail you when you look around and just see the beautiful skylines, the nature. It's majestic. I can't use any other word. Well, so on a actual topic that we have in our show notes, a different topic, as it were. Let's go ahead and get into some kind of meat and potato stuff here. I don't really know how to transition from celebrity stalking into autonomous cars, but there's our transition.
Well, I mean, couldn't you just say, hey, Tesla, take me to Meghan Trainor's house?
Well, I would hope that you can't just say that and the car takes you. But if it were to take you, then once you got there, you could just say, okay, Tesla, circle the block for a little while I go and visit my good, close personal friend, Meghan Trainor, that I've never met.
Right.
So there's
drive slowly and roll the window down so I can take pictures.
Yeah, I mean,
drive slowly to avoid children.
Yeah. Well, and that's an article that I read recently on technologyreview.com, which is MIT. They basically cover bleeding edge technology issues, right? So one of the things that is out there with the looming presence of autonomous cars is that they're saying that when autonomous cars become not even a significant factor, but just their presence are shown in larger areas, larger urban areas, that it will actually make the traffic patterns more jammed up. It'll make worse traffic for these urban areas than it is with humans driving, because what they're thinking people will do is when they go into shop, instead of parking or paying for parking garages or anything like that, they'll just
send the car to
drive around. Just say, hey, car, circle the block or go here and back while I'll hit my app up when I need you and just go do your thing. So that may be a little misguided. I seem to recall some discussion on it may have been a TED Talk. I think there was a self-driving car, Google's self-driving car project. I think somebody did a TED Talk on it. And one of the core requirements was that there must be someone in the driver's seat. Well, it's required that somebody's in the driver's seat. I think they're looking towards a future step where it's fully autonomous and you could be in the back seat, or there's no steering wheel, or however the future of this industry keeps going, where it is a fully autonomous, just almost a cab ride for you. I think that's where they're looking at for this. And there's two things that strikes me on that.
If that were to happen, I feel like we would probably also see a rise in public transport.
We might see a rise in public transport. We might see a rise in car sharing, where you don't necessarily own your own car. You either rent or have a timeshare or something like that.
The future of Uber and Lyft
exactly
could be autonomous cars that seat 8.
So when you dismiss the car, it doesn't just go circle around the block. It picks up the person that's waiting right next to you and you go, hey, that's my car. You know what? Take it. I'm shopping anyways. I'll either get another one or my car will come back to me. It doesn't really matter. But that's one possible scenario in which that could be alleviated. The other thing that I'm thinking is if an autonomous car, say if parking garages were to suddenly make allowances for autonomous cars, then maybe there's special parking spaces on the outside or inside that autonomous cars know that they're allowed to go and they don't cause that problem. But then there's another part of the autonomous car equation that I'm to believe that a lot of people don't already know this, but a lot of people, when they think autonomous cars, whether they like it or dislike the core thought of it, they're still thinking that autonomous cars are going to drive like normal humans drive. And which is to say, not necessarily strictly within the bounds of the law, but at least now and probably for the foreseeable future, autonomous cars drive ultra safe. Like, you can actually get an autonomous car stuck in a left-hand turn because it can't properly see and figure out the traffic pattern that's coming around a curve when you're trying to turn left into a shopping center or something, and there's a intersection right past the entrance to the shopping center. It's really hard for that car to understand when the traffic light that it's not at is going or stopping, or what's going on with these cars that are well within its LiDAR or radar beams, and yet it's not following traffic patterns that it's really expecting them to follow when they're trying to make that left-hand turn. So
that's interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, there was an article I saw, and unfortunately I don't have the source for that article immediately available. But yeah, that's a issue currently, and like I said, for the foreseeable future in autonomous cars, is people think that they're going to get into a car and be whisked away, and it's more like you're going to get in the car and you're going to be granny driven away, and not the speed demon granny, I can barely see over the dash and I'm driving very slowly and everybody's honking behind me.
But are we talking about a future where most or all of the cars are autonomous?
No,
or are we talking about
that was the point of the article
situation?
We're talking much more near future situation where maybe 10% of the cars are autonomous, where a very low percentage of the cars, and I'd have to pull up the article to see exactly what the number was, but there was a very low threshold, and they're figuring because I don't know if it didn't really make it clear if it's because of the current, how safe it was. It actually made it sound like the people were getting out and kind of instructing the car to go like 2 miles an hour, and the car was using game theory to figure out the best way to utilize time to go around the block without, just going around and around the block and using up fuel. So it basically, the car knew that there was nobody in it, but it was instructed to go into a holding pattern. But to go into that holding pattern, it knows the most fuel effective way is to just kind of cruise around at 5 miles per hour and just kind of inch around. But that has no consideration for traffic.
The car shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, the car shouldn't be able to do that.
I understand the concept here but it seems like it's making the jump that autonomous cars will just do whatever their drivers tell them to do.
And that's
insane.
It wasn't necessarily that the drivers were instructing them specifically to go at low speeds. It was more assuming that the cars, being that there wasn't anybody inside the car to give it a specific destination to go to, that it was just told to go into like a holding pattern. That was assuming the car would figure out a best energy to fake destination.
The best energy to apply when no direction is given is 0.
Right.
You stop.
But I guess it is under the assumption that the car isn't allowed to stop, that it has to go somewhere, but it has to, it's assuming that the car is smart enough to figure out a efficient energy usage to just go in a holding pattern that isn't stop. So it is assuming some motion, but I kind of don't believe that an autonomous car, if even in a holding pattern, would just go at like 5 miles an hour and hold everything up. I would think that it would have to follow some common rules of the road to be, over a certain threshold and under the speed limit and slow enough to be safe. If we're
talking about cars, a car that is designed to be intelligent enough to make reasonable assumptions about, or reasonable decisions about safety, is not going to drive 2 miles an hour in a 45 mile an hour zone. I mean, that it's not going to follow that instruction, and it's not going to make that decision on its own.
That's what I believe. I don't believe that the article is taking into consideration that programmers are probably going to think, well, we're not going to want the car to go 5 miles an hour on a road just because it's in some holding pattern or something. We're going to give it common thresholds that it's got to go.
I would argue that they wouldn't even create the idea of a holding pattern. That concept seems strange to me.
Now I can't.
Why would I send my vehicle off to just drive randomly around until I'm ready for it to come back and get me? That's inconvenient for me. What if it gets stuck in traffic?
Now here's the thing about that I kind of understand that. Granted, where I live, we don't have parking garages. We don't have everywhere that you park that's in the urban area, in the area I live. It's not like I have to pay to be there. If there's a parking lot somewhere, I just park there and I go in the store that I'm trying to go into, and I'm in the store as long as I need to be. There might be a few areas that have limitations to like 2 hours, 15 minutes, whatever. But there's nowhere in the area I live that, I go in somewhere and I'm having to worry about a meter that's running, or I had to park in a parking garage that if I'm there for longer than 2 hours, it's more than $850, but it's $850 regardless of how long I'm there. But then once it hits a certain number of hours, it jumps to double that or quadruple that or whatever. And I've been in cities large enough where those were the cases. As soon as you hit the city limit, and I was staying in a hotel, so I was always in the city limit. Even the hotel I stayed at, the only reason I didn't have to pay parking was it was included in my room setup, where I was paying a parking fee as part of my hotel fees, and it was just a reduced parking fee from what the parking garage charges anybody else who's parking there. So I didn't have free parking. I still had to pay I think it was $20 or $25 a day to have that parking available to me and a parking pass while I was there.
Again, though, like what you're describing is a scenario where I'm incentivized to not park there. If my car can't do a holding pattern, then it's irrelevant. You have to park there, or
Right.
you have to go somewhere where you can park
Now,
or where you're willing to park.
there is an interesting thing that was proposed in the article that was, I think, to kind of deter traffic into these urban areas in the first place. And to me, it sounds kind of like a toll. And basically, it's going into an urban area that has these parking limitations imposed on it all over the place. You would actually have to pay a congestion fee or a road fee or something going into it, like a toll to get into the city with a personal vehicle. And apparently there's already urban areas that charge a fee like this if you're going into the city in a personal vehicle to try and cut down on traffic congestion. Which that alone is a foreign concept to me. I can't imagine going into a city in my car because, I mean, again, this isn't going to be everybody's experience. Like if you live in New York, you probably walk a lot of places. You probably use taxis on a regular basis or the subway or something other than a personal car. From what I understand, most people in these large cities like New York very rarely have a car if you live within the city limits.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely don't have that problem out here in where we are in North Dakota. It's just it's just not what we have. We have cars. Everybody has a car because if you don't, we don't have public transport that's a block away. The closest public transport type thing to me is a good 2 miles away, I think. I think the closest pickup I would have to walk 2 miles to get to. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I think that article is probably misguided, or is at least, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's using stuff that I haven't seen about autonomous vehicles.
Now, granted, I don't know everything about what they're putting into control schemes of autonomous vehicles, but I really don't see where that's necessarily going to be as big of a problem as the article says. But yeah, I could see where the worry might be there, but I don't think it's as bad as the article says.
Great.
But it was an interesting topic, and that's what we're here for.
That's true.
Speaking of interesting topics, if we happen to have a mid-roll ad, this is where it would be. Otherwise, it's an awkward transition into nothing. And if there was a mid-roll ad, we're just coming back from it, and the awkwardness can now end if it wasn't a mid-roll ad.
That's so graceful.
Well, yeah, you gotta line your pockets with money somehow, right?
Yeah, and this particular episode probably won't have that mid-roll ad, but
not when it drops.
And didn't hear an ad there. We're growing a podcast, and we might have to say some garbage sometime to pimp somebody's product to make sure we can afford things that make the podcast keep going.
Well, so here's our honest promise.
Thank you for your patience and understanding.
Here's our honest promise to our listeners. We won't necessarily say any garbage because any ads that we take on at this point, we intend to actually either be currently using or have tried the product ourselves before we do the ad, before we'll ever put anything associated with our content. Because we don't want to shill things just for the money and just to shill it. We wanted to do this just for the pure joy of talking to each other and for hopefully sharing our interests with other people. We're not doing it specifically for the money, but unfortunately, truth be told, if we don't end up monetizing at some point, I can't guarantee that we'll always have a free spot to put this either. So
yeah, exactly.
But
and two, to just to talk about your promise there a little bit. I feel like pimping somebody else's product is giving some of my soul to it, and positively or negatively, I'm taking time out of my life that I'll never get back to talk about something that benefits someone else. And me talking about it is good for me because I'm getting something out of that, right? I mean,
right.
If we are talking about our podcast host, for example, they are hosting our show. So we're getting something out of that. It's, we owe them something. They're giving us something in return, and so on.
And hey, the mid-roll ad may have been an ad for our podcast company, which is how we're giving back to them, right?
Right. And so I thinking about it in terms of giving part of myself to whatever that product is. If I don't personally use whatever I'm not gonna try to sell it to you, because I'm not going to want to waste my life, like minutes of my life, recording this and telling you to go buy something that I don't believe in.
Oh, exactly.
And if that means that I don't get paid to do this show, then we just do it for free until we can't do it for free anymore. I mean, I have a full-time job. I don't need this to pay the bills.
I definitely, if we could do it for free forever and not worry about anything else, I want to keep doing it regardless, because I think this is fun, just hanging out and talking like this.
And this kind of sort of a little bit reminds me of this, the idea that, or let me back up. This kind of thing reminds me a little bit about how companies come to the price for the thing that they're giving you.
Right.
And if there's an industry standard price for something, and then a new company or even an existing company comes out with a version of that that's substantially cheaper, there's a reason. And it might not just be because of manufacturing changes or quality differences. It could very well be that they're getting something other than your money. And what I'm getting at here is there are televisions right now, huge, big screen, flat screen, 4K televisions for sale at places like Target and Walmart for insanely cheap. Mm-hmm. Now, I have a large television in my living room. It was a dream purchase of mine. I'd saved for a long time, and I bought a big 70-inch television that is mounted on my wall, and I love it. That television was $3,000. Now, I wouldn't have had to pay $3,000 if I had gotten one of these other televisions that are arguably similar quality. But here's the thing. These televisions that are super cheap, but are strangely cheap,
and have all these extra features in them, like I can say a command TVs. Word and it actually helps control my house and things because it's got a digital assistant integrated into it.
They're tied to your house. They they have access to services like Amazon Prime, Amazon Video. They connect to the internet and they get all these services. Those companies are able to sell you that TV for cheap because they're also selling your data. Now, I'm not saying that these companies are listening to your words and selling transcripts of conversations with your spouse.
No, but as soon as you buy something through them, or as soon as you watch something through them, they're recording
or
that.
Search for something.
Yeah,
exactly.
Everything you do
so
through
they're
them.
selling. Yeah, they're selling your demographic data, and they're selling your search history and all of that. Now, this isn't conspiracy theory stuff. You can go look at the fine print in any of the books that come with those televisions, and they tell you exactly what they're doing with your data.
No, yeah, this is definitely not conspiracy theory. This is absolute, concrete, known. This is what they're doing. Now, I don't have a problem with that if the people using the service is knowledgeable about it and aware of it and consensually go, yeah, okay, I'm willing, because to me it's like I watch over the air TV for free, but I have to watch ads in the program for it to be free to me, but
right.
It's still being paid for by somebody. It's being paid for by the advertisers to get those ads in front of my eyes. And it's like YouTube, if I don't pay for the monthly YouTube subscription, then I watch ads. And I'm fine with that. Now, granted, I chose to pay for the monthly YouTube subscription right now. And I might be backing off on that. They could give me everything for free and give me ads, and I'll be okay with that if I don't want to pay, because it's ads. I understand those ads are paying for the content I'm subscribing to. In fact, when Hulu went from an ad-supported model to an ad or a subscription model, I was great with that. But then when they took the ad-supported model away and started putting everything but a few episodes in there.
Well, now it's paid. It's a paid subscription and it has ads.
And that's terrible to me. Hulu was the foray into the web streaming videos for a lot of the major TV networks. And they were, in my opinion, when they started doing it, they were kind of modeling it after their broadcast offerings. And they realized, hey, we can offer a subscription and not have to do the ads. And that was the right way to go. Either offer it with ads or without ads with a subscription. But don't try and layer those, or don't put everything behind a paywall where the only way you can get the content is to pay for it without having some other model like an ad-supported model for those who either can't afford it or just don't think the content is worth paying for.
Right.
Because that's how you're going to get people to pirate it. I mean, if you don't provide a conduit for them to get it the cheapest way and the easiest way, then it's going to be pirated. If you want to have another option for people who choose to not watch the ads, but it's easy to sign up for a subscription and it's still got to be easy to do it, then, that's a great option to get rid of the ads, but you can't then put the ads behind the paywall. That's ridiculous.
Well, this is a different topic in and of itself, but
yeah.
They can do that though, and they are doing it, and people continue using the service. And this is people just in general don't realize that you vote with every click. With every second you watch a video, you are voting. You are giving them your time. You are interacting with their content. If you stop using their service when they make a change, they will stop doing that thing. They will revert it.
And
now,
you have to have enough people to stop, though.
This is a situation where the only real way to make rapid change or to force rapid change on a company is to coordinate boycotts. You have on a service as big as Netflix or Hulu, you have to make a lot of noise and it has to be public. But there are still changes that happen. What a lot of consumers don't realize is that your experience of a particular product, especially on the internet, may very well be different than your neighbor's experience on that exact same website because of a thing called A/B testing. And sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's ABCDEFG testing. But they set up their application or whatever their product is to serve different versions of their product. different coloring schemes, different graphics, different words, or different verbiage on the pages, and that kind of thing, in order to see what demographics react to which ones, to which variations, and how they react to them. And so you are voting all the time with every click you do, with every click you click, with every video you watch, you are voting. And
absolutely.
I feel like we have kind of lost track of that. And I got on this diatribe. My parents are huge.
Let's get off the public service announcement track here, because this wasn't really a discussion. This is, we both know this, and that's a public service announcement for us.
Can I let me just finish my thought here?
Okay.
The last thing I said was my parents are huge, and that's not. I don't want to leave on that. So my parents are huge Big Bang Theory fans. They love the television show.
Okay.
They watch it religiously. They have watched every single episode like 4 or more times. So
wow.
They're big fans. Now, I have definitely enjoyed the occasional Big Bang Theory episode, but what bothers me with these television shows, especially these big ones, like any sitcom or live studio audience type show, what bothers me about them is that they're really pretty terrible. They have laugh tracks, and the jokes are predictably timed, and the characters are essentially all the same. And there just really isn't a whole lot of creativity going on there.
Right.
So many networks have used the same formula for a television show that if someone is going to watch television, they have to watch something that they only like 40% of or 50% of. But you're sitting through the entire episode repeatedly. So you're telling the companies, the publishing companies, or the studios, whoever's creating the content that you're watching, you're telling them that you like the whole thing.
Well, and one of the problems with that is you like 40% of it. Somebody over there likes a different 40% of it, but it's enough that both people watch it. Meanwhile, things like, and this is going to be really in the geeky line of things. And for those who aren't interested in this stuff, I'm sorry, but this is where it's going. Things like Firefly or Freaks and Geeks that have a dedicated cult following that have fans that just, I mean, there's people who set up whole costumes and write fan fiction and everything about Firefly, down to have made up different histories and have created a huge number of stories detailing the universe that it's set in. And that takes a lot of dedication. The problem is that those people that were like 80, 90, 100% into that show just didn't have a chance because it was catering to a certain type of person that loved everything about that show. And that's going to be almost by nature a smaller group than the scattershot approach, where 40% of the show appeals to that, 40% appeals to that, 40% is kind of crossover. And, you know, it's, you know, when you have the wider appeal to lesser parts of the show, but, you know, it's got a little something for everybody, that just means more audience are voting for it because it's good enough to watch. I'll leave it on and it's good.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I've talked to a lot of people over the years of being alive, and most people are annoyed by laugh tracks, and yet we still have laugh tracks in a huge majority of these, or in all of that style of television show. But it's still there, and those companies aren't taking those laugh tracks out, even though it seems like, maybe this is anecdotal, probably is, it seems like a lot of people don't like those things. and yet you keep watching it, and it's just not bad enough. That one particular thing isn't bad enough to made me stop watching it, but it's not bad enough for enough people to stop watching it to tell these companies to stop producing this crap.
Well, and therein may lie
the soapbox.
Therein may lie something that we don't see. And you spoke about A/B testing, and that is very closely akin to focus groups, right? Where, they get a bunch of people in a room and they say, well, how'd you like this? And those shows almost universally will go through focus tests, will go through audience trials and things like that well before they get on the air. And even during their tenure, they're going to be constantly looking at groups of people and having them sit down and watch it and go, what did you think about that? And we anecdotally, we may be friends with a larger group of people, or almost all of our friends may go, oh, laugh tracks are so corny and why? But somebody's going, oh yeah, that it was perfectly timed. Every time there was laughter, I was laughing.
They don't realize there was a laugh track, or they just don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure there's something behind the scenes that's supporting that you and me as a certain type of consumer go, oh my God, that is so noticeable and that is terrible. But there's consumers out there that are going, oh, without that, man, I just really didn't get that joke about E equals MC whatever. And I'm not saying that the large portion of audiences is not able to recognize E equals MC squared, but there may be that one portion of audience that doesn't excel in science or math and just doesn't recognize it or doesn't care about it, but really likes the laugh track, and that's who they got in the focus groups.
Or they just like the cadence of those shows. They're almost hypnotic if you just kind of listen to how they're like blah 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 blah, and then there's a laugh track.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the setup. Someone says something, there's a retort, and then a sarcastic comment, and then a joke and a laugh. And then someone else says something, and then someone responds, and then the person responds, and then there's a laugh track. I just hate it. It's anyway, what I was trying to do here is we started talking about this PSA thing. What I was trying to do here was segue us into a conversation about some freezers at a Walgreens.
Oh yeah, and you were doing so good until we got on our soapboxes too, because you were talking about TVs and how they listen to you, and and even before that, when we started talking about some sort of ads or something, I was going to be like, oh hey, I'm going to be able to segue into this Walgreens freezer story. This is great. And then you started talking about that.
Talking about laugh tracks.
And I was like, oh, even better. We're really segueing into, oh wait, crap. We're talking about laugh tracks. But
I tried.
Yeah. Well, there was an attempt and it failed. Although, have you seen that Netflix show, Nailed It?
No, it's on my watch list.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. Anyways, not gonna go off on a tangent there, just mentioning it. So anyways, freezers at Walgreens are spying on you. Really? That's the next topic. And John, have you looked at this story at all? I saw that you were in the source box.
No, I haven't. I just kind of skimmed it. But I was so focused on trying to get my transition into this story right that I couldn't read and talk at the same time. So no,
that's fine. That's why I'm the topic czar.
Teach me about Walgreens freezers.
Okay, so what the story is when in some Walgreens they have got freezers, and it doesn't really say what the technology is specifically. So I'm kind of making a leap based on an educated guess. But I'm assuming they're LCD on the doors instead of glass. So you're seeing products on an LCD screen on the door, and apparently there's a camera or some other facial recognition sensor that doesn't record your face. It makes it clear in the article it does not record your face, but what it does do is it takes your facial or image properties or whatever technology it's using to sense who you are. It's taking approximately how old you are, guessing what sex you are, guessing anything it can guess about you, and then turning around based on the time of day or the season or the weather or whatever, along with your identifiable information, not personally identifiable, just, what general guess it can make about you, and suggesting things that maybe be in that freezer section and showing it to you on the door of the freezer instead of just a pure view onto what products are on the shelf of that freezer. Now, I think that the title...
This just bothers the hell out of me.
Well, before we get into it,
I'm not trying to tie this back to Big Bang Theory on purpose, but this is a similar thing. There's this feedback loop that's going to happen here.
Yeah. Well,
if there's some demographic that this computer can pick up on that prefers Mars bars or whatever the M&M thing that is frozen in those, I don't eat this stuff. Not for any moral reason.
Sure, you don't.
I just don't.
You've got a freezer full of M&M ice pops right now.
I hate M&Ms. But if there's some demographic that likes those things, and then when they show up to this store or into this wall of screens, and they're only shown things that appeal to that demographic, those are the things that they're going to start to like, because they're not going to necessarily realize that there are other options.
Well, let's get into that theory in just a second. First, what I want to take an issue with is just the title of this article in the first place, because the actual article title is "These Walgreens Freezers Are Spying on You." And
yeah, that's got a connotation of it's gathering my personally identifiable information
and it's storing it and passing that on to somewhere else. And it's not doing that. It's not spying on you. It's trying to find your demographics from some identifiable facial features or picture that it captures on a camera or something like that. It's demographics information. It's not, hey, Mary Sue is right there, and I remember Mary Sue was buying something last time. No, it's not.
And she searched for
that.
this on Facebook and has this shopping pattern in Target, and
Now, granted, all the technology is there to do that today.
Yes.
I'm not saying that that's not possible, and I wouldn't be surprised if like an Amazon store did that. And we know Amazon stores are being tested. And so that is completely and totally possible. And that would freak me out, but I know how that would work.
I heard this story, and I'm going to have to see if I can find it and add it to the description on this episode. I promise you, everyone, if I can't find it, I will put a note in there that says that someone lied to me. Okay. But I distinctly remember a story about a woman who started receiving advertising stuff in the mail for things like newborn clothes, newborn diapers, nighttime diapers.
I remember that too. Yeah.
And things like that. And she's like, why in the hell am I getting this stuff? I don't even have a kid. But it turns out she was pregnant, and that somehow or another, all of the systems that are connected with Facebook and Amazon and I think they were Target advertisements she was getting, the systems at Target, they had all somehow or another gotten all of their data together, and some algorithm somewhere said she's probably pregnant based on her search criteria and the things she was looking at here and there. And all of that was enough information for those systems to start saying she's probably pregnant, give her information about having a newborn. And it turned out she was actually pregnant.
Or there was a story, and I'm not as altruistic as John. I'm not going to go try and find this, but I remember it. There was a story where a kid's parents found out that they were homosexual because of something in Facebook that sent them something to do with that, and they weren't ready to come out of the closet yet, and yet their parents found out before they were ready. The same type of deal. But that is spying. That is without somebody's consent to go into targeting marketing, which the GDPR is one of the things trying to deal with that. And yes, and it's a fine line. You say
without our consent though, but we consent to that every day when you log into Facebook and you don't use ad blockers and tracker blockers and incognito mode and pay for VPN service and bounce around the world and VPN.
There's consent, and then there's informed consent.
Hidden, it's a lot of work, and you have to be technically savvy.
Yeah.
Somebody like my mom, she's going to say, man, I really want a new TV. She's going to go to Walmart and she's going to buy a 60-inch OLED television that should be $2,800.
And she's going to give an implied consent to Alexa or Google Home or iTunes to
or not even implied consent, but direct consent. I mean, how many times do you know? I just installed. I found a YouTube video. Direct
consent would be her saying yes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Just the other day, I was on YouTube. I found this video of something like the top 10 cross-platform mobile games or whatever. And I was like, I could use some new games. Let's see what this is. So I clicked the video. I go through it. There were 4 or 5 games in there that looked interesting. So I go onto the Android store and I went and picked up these apps and picked up these games. I'm not shitting you. Every single one of them wanted some kind of information from my phone. It was like, show us your photos and videos. And I was just like, no, you don't need my photos and videos. Show us your location. No, you don't need to see my location. And they're just games,
right?
They're not even geolocation games. Like, it's not like Pokemon Go, like where you need to use your GPS.
Right.
It's not like that. But for whatever reason, these games wanted this information from me.
It's Minesweeper, and doesn't know any better,
and she's
location.
Just going to say yes. Yeah, exactly. And, my mom doesn't know this stuff. So she's just going to be like, yeah, I want to play the game. So, well, maybe it just needs access to my photos for some reason. So sure, why not? Maybe it needs my location for some reason. Sure, why not? Well, you're saying yes. That's it's not informed consent, but it is definitely
that is not implied consent. That is consent. But it's not necessarily informed consent because your mother is not taking the time to inform herself why. And
that's not a criticism on her. No. She shouldn't have to. The system should tell you that.
I mean, yes, there are some ways on a lot of those that are available for somebody like you and me that know they're there to look up and go, well, why is it doing it? Oh, it doesn't really need it. Well, no.
Deny.
But
or just a flat out don't install it or uninstall it.
Yeah, right. But not everybody should be expected to do that. But there's those developers out there that are just greedy enough to sell
preying on the weak.
Yeah, exactly. They're preying on the weak, and they don't care that they're doing it. And it's up to the consumers, unfortunately, and a lot of the consumers don't care or don't know. And how do you stop that without a law put in place? And I'm not one that really wants a law put in place for that, but then again, how do you stop that without a law put in place? It's a real catch-22 for my my political leaning, but we're not here to argue politics.
Right. Or for that matter, talk about the State of the Union from last night.
Yeah, I haven't really had a chance to look at much of that, so let's not even get onto that yet.
The only thing I'll say about the State of the Union that was weird, anything at all, not even that it was weird, was that there was an awkward "Happy Birthday" song sang.
Wait,
in the
what?
middle of it. This is a State of the Union for a world superpower.
And there was a happy birthday.
They sang "Happy Birthday." And just, okay, I get it. You're a human being, and happy birthday to this person. Great. Good on you. But this is the State of the Union. Sit down.
Maybe that's not the right place to do a Chili's birthday song.
Yeah, I don't feel like, and would they have still, now the birthday song is public domain, so it's okay. But what would have happened if they had sang the birthday song on live television before it was made public domain?
Oh God.
And this is the US government anyway. Whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, actually moving back. So we've covered that the article title in the first place is heavily misleading, which makes me think that the article may have been biased against this technology in the first place. So let's take it with a grain
it seems
of
a
salt
little
in the first
clickbaity
place.
to me. I feel like it's a little clickbaity. They may have just been trying to get you to click the article, honestly.
Very, very possibly. But to me, it was.
Having trouble connecting to the internet? Take a look at the help section in your Alexa app.
Speaking of,
thank you, Alexa. Yeah, no doubt.
Anyways, let's get back to the issue of the data it's collecting. Not really the data it's collecting, but the use that it's putting that data to is direct advertising. Now, part of this is going to be how that advertising is being set up in the code behind all this. Is it more of a thing like it's a see-through LCD where the people can really still see through to that? And this is, instead of the little cards that a supermarket puts on the freezers, this is doing a larger advertisement, since we have the technology to do it, and giving you specials, and just those specials can be more dynamic according to your demographic, time of day, any other conditions that might happen to exist, like a snow day or a hot sunny day or whatever the case may be. Is it something along those lines, or is it truly, oh, hey, this is just demographics based, and this demographic tends to like M&M's ice bars, and so every time what looks like a 10-year-old kid is standing there with or without his mother, we're going to show M&M's ice bars, and you can't see anything behind it.
At eye level.
At eye level, yeah. And you can't see anything behind this. You just see M&M's ice bars. So you open the freezer door, and you're focused on those, and you're not even noticing that there's Tutti Frutti real natural fruit bars with low sugar that is a better choice, or maybe even a more tasty choice for that person, but you don't see it. So therefore the store starts assuming nobody really wants it and stops carrying it. That business goes out of business, or that product gets discontinued, or just that store stops carrying it. So population stops having that healthier option.
I would hope what would happen there, and I haven't looked into this Walgreens thing, so I don't know if this is happening. Maybe what I would hope would happen there is that before it starts making suggestions, they're just gathering information.
It doesn't say in the article.
Okay. So, people who are this height with this skin color that are male or female, whatever, all of your demographic information, when they come up to this and then they come up to the machine and it says, okay, this is this person's demographic approximately, and then see somehow what they take out of the machine. Now, if you're doing that and you're getting doing that, you would get some information and actual information about what people like. My issue with that though is that the trendy word right now is echo chamber. That kind of creates an echo chamber, because now you're only going to be giving those people the things that they want, that you think they want based on history, but not necessarily giving them things that they some new things that they may want, new products and stuff. Not to mention, what's going to happen when some large corporation comes in and said, I don't know who makes M&Ms, but
I think it's Mars.
One of the 4 companies in the world. Okay. So that whatever that company is comes in and starts saying, I want preferential treatment. Show my Mars bar at eye level, or show people this product at eye level, no matter their demographic, or show this demographic, this product at eye level, at all times, regardless of what the system's preference may be. That's the kind of thing. It's so tricky. It seems such a slippery slope. I feel like I'm being manipulated.
So what it looks like, and I'm looking at a picture of it right now. It doesn't look like the doors are see-through at all, but also it looks.
Yeah, they're just like big TV screens.
It also looks like there's a section that is all of what's contained in the freezer, but at another section, it's like a little bit sectioned off to where there's more sponsored content. So it may show more of one of the things,
that's kind of
or
cool.
It may show a specific ad at the very top for suggested things, or on sale, or the ad.
If this is the world I must live in, I would prefer to be informed.
Yeah.
So if you're going to pay to sponsor something, show me that you paid for it, and let me see stuff that isn't.
Now, granted, the bar I'm looking at looks kind of like it might say Walgreens on it and not sponsor, but it looks like it has the capacity to, and well, let's rewind that. I know it has the capacity to differentiate and put like a border or put a word or something that specifically says this is sponsored, or this is a sale, or this is an ad, or something like that. If it's a screen that's showing content and that content is controlled in any way, it can do that. Yeah. So, but it's not really spying. We agree on that. Depending on how it's implemented, it could really have some creepy implementations. So Walgreens needs to be really careful in how they do that. I would hope that they don't show absolute preference to whoever's paying top dollar, or just whatever product is going to be pushed out to demographic basis. And I doubt they would do that. That would be going beyond servicing an idea. That would be disservicing your customers at that point.
I'm definitely a cynic, but I can tell you that it wouldn't surprise me at all to find out that's exactly what they're doing.
it
or start
may not surprise me.
I mean,
but
because at the end of the day, these companies, all they want to do is make money, and that is the purpose of a corporation.
No, that's
that's the purpose. You don't create a corporation to not make money.
No, I agree with that.
You're insane.
But with that in mind, if you start not servicing your customer base, whatever that customer base may be, it may not be in consumers, it may be other companies or whatever it is. If you start disservicing them just for the bottom line, you're going to get in trouble at some point.
Maybe.
And I know of
like at Facebook.
Well, I know of one. Well, you worked for a company. I'm not going to say the name of the company because they're still a viable company right now, but they're about to merge and or get bought out by another company. And I'd like to attribute the fact that they were very much a bottom line company. They really didn't care about their clients. They cared about the money their clients brought in, as far as what I could see. Because when we worked together, they bought out where we worked, and the change was instantaneous and very obvious to me that they didn't give a crap about their employees. They didn't give a crap about their customers, as long as they were getting money off of their customers.
Yeah. I don't think I can participate in this conversation. I don't want to be on record saying anything positive or negative about companies that I may or may not have worked for in the past.
And that's fine. But just saying, if a company loses sight of whatever clientele they're servicing, if they lose sight of the best interests of that clientele at some level of their process, if it just becomes about the money being the bottom line and the only thing they're focused on, they are going to suffer. They are going to fail at some point, because somebody in their customer base is going to go, no, that's ridiculous. And that's going to start happening more and more. The more and more, the less and less they care about their customer, the more and more customers are going to go, oh wait, they don't care about what I want out of it. They're just taking money. And unless they have a monopoly like a lot of cable companies, if they are in any kind of competitive space, that's going to hurt them. Now that breaks down in a monopolistic type situation though. So we're kind of screwed where cable companies are in that whole.
Yeah. No, don't get me started on cable companies.
But so I understand your cynicism there, but I think in our general structure of capitalism, there is a check, a balance to that too. But there's enough caveats to that your cynicism is definitely earned too. I understand that.
Yeah, obviously I hope, I have hope. I hope that people don't behave that way. Companies don't behave that way.
Oh, I feel so dirty right now. Let's get soaped up, get under that nice warm spray, and have a few shower thoughts. Look, okay. I'm trying to work on these transitions here, man. You got to work with me here.
I mean, if they're funny, I'm going to laugh. Okay.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to deal with that.
Hey, I'm good with funny. I'm good with laughing, as long as we don't introduce a laugh track, and you better not edit a laugh track in here. God help me.
It's funny. I had the impulse to just, like, as soon as you said that, I imagined adding a laugh track to this.
So our quickly has become one of our favorite segments, Shower Thoughts. And this one is the first one that is completely organic. Normally we go on Reddit and we look at the Shower Thoughts thread and pick out a couple of juicy ones. We're kind of short on time, so I think we're going to be limited to one, but it's one that I was in the shower. It's genuinely a shower thought. I don't normally think of iOS or Apple devices in the shower, but for some reason it hit me. FaceTime, or not FaceTime, I'm sorry, Face ID. It's really, well, I won't say it's really like really secure, but you know, it's good security, and it's for a company that I say isn't innovative, it really is an innovative way that they've implemented it, and they obviously have the patent on it. They're not releasing it out to other companies the way they do it. And we know how they do it. I mean, it's as soon as they released it and somebody took a camera and saw the infrared dots, it was like, well, duh, we know what's going on with it. I'm surprised nobody's trying to rip you off. And the only thing keeping it is because they've got it patented. So it's an actual new technology. Credit for Apple for that. I don't want somebody to tell me that I don't give Apple what Apple is legitimately due. But I got to thinking, if you took another Apple device, be it another iPhone or another like an iPad or something, what's to stop you from using that same sensor on another device? And say you had an iPad that had that. I'm assuming iPads have Face ID in them. So say you had an iPad and you were in a situation like, I don't know, a convention, and you were hosting a talk, and you gave somebody an iPad to sign up for your talk. And granted, this is a fairly limited scope of situation that this would work in, but let's just say you had a specific target and you knew they were going to be at the convention. You knew what their interests were. You did a little homework. So you had them sign up for your talk. And while they were signing up, there was some questions mixed in, like, do you have an iPhone? Or maybe you already know and you don't have to ask that. But while they're filling that out, you have them filling out a custom form that's actually an app that also triggers the IR sensor array and captures their face data while they're filling out your entry form. And then you take that face data, which is basically a bunch of measurements of the facial features to make a quote fingerprint of the face. And you turn around and you print in fine detail a 3D mask or bust of their face, maybe add a little paint on it. 3D printing's not that expensive anymore. Would that be enough to trick Face ID? Because and I looked this up. There is an article out there that a Asian, I don't think it was Chinese, but it was definitely an Asianic country. A team of their researchers put together a mask that was partially 3D printed, had like paper cut out of lips and an eye, and had like this molded nose, like prosthetic nose. And that was enough to break Face ID. So if you could get them to go on another device and get the exact profile of their face from a Face ID sensor,
right,
and then turn around and build
I know where you're going here. So I can tell you, I already know for sure that you can break Android with a 3D printed head.
Well, not Android though.
I know the facial recognition for Android is susceptible to an attack through a 3D printed face.
Okay.
Now, as far as Face ID, the only thing I'm aware of is exactly what you're talking about. It was partially 3D printed, except I don't think it was 3D printed. I think it was, what is it, like plaster Paris or whatever.
I don't know if it was 3D.
I think
printed. But I did see the article.
It was not a human face, but they were able to manufacture a face that could unlock the phone.
Right.
I have personally tried on an iPhone and on an Android to unlock with a photograph, like a printed photograph, as well as a photo on display on a screen on another device. Right. And that did not work.
Well,
but it is possible to break the facial recognition on Android with 3D printed face for sure.
And the Android is much easier because it uses more standard depth and photographic sensors. It doesn't use IR point sensors that measures exact depths and exact certain things.
Right.
But Apple Face ID uses and if you take a camera that can resolve infrared, you can see what it's doing. It's putting a bunch of dots on your face that you can't see. So if somebody's sitting there in a conference filling out a form, they're not going to be able to see if this thing's flashing on their face and capturing their facial data.
Stealing their face detail. Right.
So, but then could you turn around and use that to create an exact enough 3D printed mask or bust to be able to later at your leisure capture that person's phone and unlock it and access their data?
Yeah, it appears so, yes, based on the internet. The internet is saying that, yes, you can in fact do that.
And the thing about that one study is that they did it and they showed a video of them doing it, but nobody's been able to replicate it, and they haven't done it live in front of other third-party researchers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
If you can get that, the information, and I don't know, what is it, like 40,000 different infrared dots?
Yeah, I don't know the number.
40,000. I don't know. It's tens of thousands of infrared dots that get projected on the face and then read by the screen.
It doesn't look that many in photos, but yeah,
phone.
I imagine it would be, yeah.
That information has to be stored somewhere, and I would imagine that it's probably just in a file on your phone. Now, it's probably encrypted. I would hope it's encrypted. What I'm wondering about is if maybe the attack vector there is that file. Forget the face. If your phone can recognize your face, it has stored information about your face on it, and is able then to take that infrared snapshot of the face that's in front of the camera, compare that information to the file that's on the phone, and then within a certain uncertainty level, say, this is probably this person, will unlock the phone. That seems to me like that's probably the way to go. If you could find a way to get access to that file remotely or even from the device physically, and then force that file back to the device at authentication time, you would break the phone. Now, that's hard and maybe impossible. I don't know what that file looks like. I don't know how it's stored. Transmitting it back to the device may be incredibly challenging. You might need even hardware access to it. I'm sorry, not hardware access, but physical access to the device, and like take it apart and hook up your own fake camera that, broadcasts the facial recognition's data to it. Who knows? I don't know the way to do it, but it seems like if I were going to try to break Face ID, I'd start with the file personally.
I guess it would depend on your technical knowledge level as to and your intimacy with the particular device. In this case, we're iOS
talking.
Device.
You're talking about somebody who's willing to gather facial recognition data discreetly, store it, and then break into people's phones. This isn't a technological neophyte. This is somebody who has some level of skill and has developed the software necessary to grab that information.
Yeah, but
so they've either developed that software themselves or they've contracted it out to someone who can. This is not a technologically stupid individual for sure.
Yeah, but that also doesn't mean that they necessarily know the inner workings of the Face ID file storage mechanism.
Of course, but they don't know. They didn't know anything really about how the facial recognition thing worked until they researched it. They thought facial recognition is an attack vector. If that vector didn't work and they really wanted to break it, they would move on to the next vector. So what I'm saying is just because they don't know the intricacies of whatever file is sitting on the phone that contains the facial recognition data, just because they don't know those details doesn't mean that they won't go figure out those details when all of the other attempts to break Face ID haven't worked. Because that's how you build a hack. I mean, if not that I've ever broken into anything officially, you start one way, and when that doesn't work, you go another way, and when that doesn't work, you go another way, and you do that until you are able to get in.
I mean, you hack at it. That's why it's called hacking.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Well, it's been an interesting session, John. I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up for this episode of A Different Topic.
Yeah, it's late. It's almost 11:30 p.m. here in lovely North Dakota.
That's right. So,
and I've got to go to bed.
So have
my wife went to bed an hour ago.
My wife just popped around the corner and was like, "Why are you still up?" So
yeah, well, we're doing a show.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, as usual, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Have a good one.